We're gonna talk about this restaurant life. So let's get into it tonight. It's a blessing as well as strife. So grab your fork and get your knife. Cause there's so much more to this restaurant life. Yeah, there's so much more to this restaurant life. So much more to this restaurant life.
On a whim, I just said to a friend, I really need to find a female master brewer, because my husband's like, you need to find a woman. Like, women, we just communicate differently.
Absolutely.
And I have a science background, so I was like, that'll never happen. That's ridiculous. That's like finding a magical unicorn, at a pot of gold, like in southern Minnesota. It is. There's a reason for that. And I was like, that'll never happen. And he's like, he just put it out there, and a friend who happened to be from Ireland said, I think I know this woman, and I think she worked for Guinness. And I was like, what? Because she was looking for a different job, and we were just talking. And I said, and nobody's consulted her? I said, she's like, yeah, I think she brewed for Guinness. And I was like, could you just call her and give her my number and see if she'd talk to me? And lo and behold, she called me, and sure enough, she actually was the master brewer for Coors.
Right on.
She did that, and then got headhunted and did international quality control for Guinness. Was their woman director, one of their only female women directors. Flew around the world, checked on beer, checked everything.
Consulting.
Like literally for Guinness, is everything correct?
Dude, that's a dream job.
She's like, she's never worked a day in her life. She said it's like her absolute favorite job in the whole world. She loves it. And then
that's a blessed life.
And then a big brewery in London, the biggest one, called her and said, would you help run this brewery? So she ran the brewery that we all know that made Newcastle. She did that for 5 years and ran.
Okay, yeah, I did hear that.
Ran the biggest brewery in London for 5 years.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then came back.
So she's got the chops.
She's a scientist. So it's interesting. There's an art, like cooking, art and science, and people always think that I'm just gonna throw stuff together, and you're like, Maillard reaction and knife cuts count, and same thing in beer.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So we care about a product. So we said, we're gonna do vertical integration, so you can control everything and know that we're doing a good job.
Sure. So you have your finger on the pulse a little bit more too.
We do, and I get to go see restaurants, and since I don't own any restaurants anymore, I understand, culture and culture and what you need and when to show up and what your schedule looks like, because it's a crazy life.
That's something I was gonna give you a compliment about, because I deal with a lot of salesmen. I deal with a lot of a lot of purveyors, and there's an art to that.
Yeah.
I also used to be a salesman, so I kind of I get the game of how it works, and the ones that do it well are the ones that are consistent, which you are, and not pushy, and they're to help. And it's kind of a timing thing, because I've talked to my brother David a lot about this. He's the sommelier that orders everything for our other brother's restaurant. Yeah. He's like, dude, if they're just consistent enough, and they bring some product, and they have all the information, it's almost like clockwork. I'll have a need, and then this person will be there, and they're doing their job, their due diligence.
Yep.
And that's when they get a spot.
Well, I always used to think when they would show up at most inopportune times, hi, can I show up at your restaurant at 5:30, right when you're starting service? And
I'm a little busy, bro.
And I want to show you product, and I've got all this stuff, and I was like, what are you doing? Or they'll just show up with no appointment.
Yes.
And you're like, what do you think I'm doing?
Yeah.
And to me, that was always a no for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I find a moment, I'm like, hey, here's my card. Can I call you? But yeah.
No, there's etiquette.
Weirdly, there is.
There's etiquette to selling these things, or to getting your foot in the door, and it's you have to
be patient. And well, you're just a busy human. I mean, you're running literally a giant house party every single day.
That's a great way to put it.
With all of your family that's helping you cook, and who knows what just happened 5 minutes before you open your doors.
Yeah,
I mean,
every day. The fryer went down. And
the dishwasher went down, the shorted you this, blah, blah, blah. The party added on, just 15 more, and you're like,
yep.
What?
The house party is getting crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so I'm just there to help your house party run smoothly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think again, going back to like being in sales, like that's what I would tell people. I'd be like, hey, listen, you're going to have to do business with somebody because that's what your business is.
Yep.
And you're going to have to choose somebody, and you're choosing the person as much as you're choosing a product.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, and
Yep.
that's part of the bit.
I think that's how we choose too. I think for us it's a partnership. Just like we don't put any not natural ingredients in our beer. Like we are committed to like we're a zero waste brewery. Like that's what we do, and we have a fit. And sometimes that just doesn't fit,
Sure.
and that's okay too.
Yes.
You know, people are like, can't you just do whatever? No, we can't. We can't rush it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the product will suffer. It's not sustainable if you're not doing it
Many
correctly.
years with chefs, I understand the quality of food.
Absolutely.
It has to be like you can't serve a bad product.
Absolutely. So you guys have been in Pine Island now since 2018?
No, 2020.
2020.
COVID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that.
We opened on 9/11, 2020. Literally had no staff because we're like, oh, it's COVID. Who's going to come out? So we're like, we'll just figure it out. And Ann and I worked the first 3 days because we had nobody. And we're like, oh my God, we have to hire people. This is really, we thought we could do it all.
Sure.
Which I don't know why we thought, but nobody was going anywhere. So we just thought, well, who's going to come to a brewery in the middle of COVID when it's 50% and all that jazz?
It's such a weird time. Yeah. Oh, I would have thought the same thing.
Yeah.
But then you had to hire people.
Then we had to hire people in the middle of a pandemic and then let them go 6 weeks later.
I know,
great.
right?
It was just great.
Oh my God. It was, it was surreal. It was surreal to say the least. I couldn't even imagine starting a business doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
well, what do you do?
Yeah. What do you do?
What do you do?
You lay down and die, or do you keep going, right?
Yep.
I'm glad you kept going. I think it's cool. I think too, like, you know, something that I've noticed, and again, just another compliment, like you have an eye for stuff. Like you have like a taste, like walking into this building, you know, like I could tell that. And then like, just like your tap handles, like the south, I'm like, it's got thought out process of like, okay,
well, thank you.
This is what we're going for kind of deal. And it's unique, but it's stylish.
Well, we've got 2 women running a brewery and brewing and doing the whole thing. So we figured we should probably do our own thing and not be like everybody else because we're clearly not.
Yeah, and celebrate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're just leaning into doing our own thing.
Power to you, man. I dig it.
Yeah,
and
it's not like we're involved in a lot of things because it's 2 women and they're like, this is just weird. So we're just kind of doing our own thing.
You're making it happen though. That's cool.
It's fun.
That's like, you know, in this life, in this industry, that's what it takes. You know, it's like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get it done? What's it going to take? You know,
what is it going to take?
Yeah.
Wine
helps.
Beer
Helps. So speaking of beer, I tried out your samples.
Sure.
That you brought, and the last time that you came, we tried stuff, and I think we got the Lazy IPA.
Lazy Day IPA.
Yep. And so that went out over great. And then COVID happened. And we kind of lost touch a little bit.
Weird.
But I remember the first time after trying this last time, trying the amber, that was my favorite the first time. So we're gonna switch out Shell's amber and bring on.
Well, thanks.
Is it the Trailhead Amber?
Trailhead Amber.
Yeah, Trailhead Amber. Because it's delicious.
Well, thank you.
So,
well, that was made for Southeastern Minnesota, literally by a panel of people that she sat down and said, try all these beers. What do you like? What do you don't? And based it on the palette of what everybody gave her feedback.
That's cool.
And they're all from here. So that was kind of a interesting
for
beer.
The region, for Southeast
Minnesota. Yeah. Big Caterer was hiring us to make a beer specifically. This is a need that they saw. And then COVID.
Yeah.
And so it's become probably our number one between Lazy Day and Trailhead, but I think Trailhead's starting to outdo the IPA now.
Nice.
So it's become kind of a beer that it's on tap at my house. So if that tells you
that's your favorite.
It is my favorite beer. Yeah.
Dude, it's good. It's like quality. And that's what I tell people too. I'm like, I'm not, yes, we want to support local, and yes, it
has to taste good, man.
It's got to be a good product to put in my spot.
I want to support local, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, bad move.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and they'll taste it. Like, people know that.
And then they'll just be like,
I did the same thing with Harmony Spirits. Like, when they first started, like, it was good, but I was like, you guys got to work this out a little bit. And I was just honest with them. Mm-hmm. And they're new, and they had like stuff to figure out and stuff. Yep. And it's better.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's good.
It's
and
very good.
They're dedicated, and I'm like, and it shows. And I'm like, dude, yes, this works now for what I got going on.
See?
Right?
Thanks for doing that. And honesty is good, because we always want to hear like real feedback.
Absolutely, I do too.
Yep.
Oh my God, every time, dude,
I put out this new dish, and everybody's like,
dude.
I mean, tell me if you like it or not.
I go out. I go, this is the first one. What do you think? Like, I'm just right in their face, like, give it to me. Like, I need to know what you think. You're out of the
restaurant.
And if I see any of my friends or anybody that I know, like, that is in there eating, I'm like, you tell me.
Are you that chef that watches the plates come back, and if there's food on it, you're
100%.
like, what happened?
100%.
What went wrong? I do that with beer too. It's like, why didn't they drink that whole beer?
Dude, that's doing my job.
Yep.
Like, finger on the pulse. Like, hey, did you not, did we not cook it long enough? Does it need more time? It wasn't under seasoned. Was it, it's like, why did this not work for you? You ordered this, and I want to know why.
Yep.
And that deducts so many problems down the road.
Correct.
If you can just get it right there, right?
Yep.
And I think that's an exercise too of being honest, checking in.
Check your ego at the door.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, they don't understand what good beer is. They don't know, or they don't understand how to cook. And I'm like, people understand how to eat and drink, man.
100%. Because we all do it.
It's like the worst when you discount somebody and you're like, oh, you don't get it because you're not in the industry. They're signing the front of our checks by what they choose.
You're not going to make it. You're just not going to sustain. It's not a thing that is, when you disregard that, even if it is something wrong, there could be there could really be something wrong, like that day, like a glass didn't get rinsed, or there was soap on the dish, or like, you don't know, it could be perfect, but somewhere in that process, you can find it.
Yes.
It's like, hey, and then address it.
Correct.
Like, I have these conversations with my cooks, with my dishwashers, with my front of the house all the time. Like, listen, you're doing a great job. Thanks. I love your energy. Here's what the feedback I got. So we got to keep an eye on that. Okay, cool. And they like knowing it too.
Everybody wants to know.
They want to know how they're doing, and they're doing a good job, and what they need to work on, because it's never going to be perfect, dude. It's just not. But
and do you want it to be?
No, because then it's unattainable. If you ever do get it, it's like, that's fleeting. That's
3 stars, and then all of a sudden you have 1 star, and you decide your life is worthless.
Yeah. It's unattainable, but I think striving for it is the key, and those tools and those instances and circumstances, when they do come up, you have to address them, like you were saying.
Yep.
If you don't, I'm not doing my due diligence as the leader, as the owner, and that trickles down too.
Yep.
Like, dude, my employees, if I'm slacking, they don't have to say anything. I just get a vibe, like, yo, do your job too, And I'm like, all right, you're right.
I'd like to come on those nights and just watch how that pans out.
But I'm involved a lot, so it's a family thing, and like, I have like not only my responsibilities as the head of the owner and the chef, but like, you said you were going to make this sauce. You said you were going to do this when you count back here, and then I got busy and I was talking to somebody, and then the sauce, and like, hey, you're going to get that sauce, right? And I was like, I'm on it right now. It's almost like I'm answering as, yes, chef. Yeah, you're right, because that's you
said you were going to do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I have to like check myself through my employees sometimes. Like, you're right, man. Because I used to be a cook just in the restaurant. I used to be just the guy that was here trying to do my job and work my station. And it's like, I needed help then. Like, you said you were going to cut up that steak for my tartare. That's what you said, so I didn't do it, and then it's 10 minutes to service, and they'd be like, and then like, fuck, all right, and so you go, but that's a riff, right?
It is how it goes,
dude. It's how it goes.
That's how it goes in the kitchen.
It's wild. And these are the conversations I like having, like this restaurant life stuff, where it just comes out, or like, Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or you take the new staff. I remember that's what they used to do to me as a new intern. Oh, hey, you're going to do dessert. I'm like, I'm not doing dessert. Well, you're a girl, not doing dessert. So we'll put you on garde. And then they're like, you're going to do fish station tonight. I'm like, I've been here 3 days. They're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to cry? And I'm like, I don't even know the menu. Like, well, you're going to have to figure it out.
Oh,
and
dirty.
I remember having a freak out, and I called my husband and I was like, what am I going to do? He's like, you have two choices. You're either going to go in there and kick their ass and do it, or you're going to come home and you're never going to open your own restaurant. So
Dude,
decide.
that's the real.
That was my husband. He's like, so what is it going to be? And I was like, I'll go learn the fish. And I was like, cry. And it was Lent. That's the other thing.
Oh, so it's every dish.
Jerks. They just did it to see if I'd cry.
Yeah.
I didn't cry.
I have a story that my buddy was going to stage and wanted to get a job at this high-end restaurant, and they pulled out a king salmon, like a $500 piece of fish, and said, here's your test, fillet this. And he just looked at him and he knows how to fillet a fish, but he's just looking at it, and he knows how much that fish costs, and it's the head chef, the sous chef, everybody's standing there and watching, and he's like, I'm not prepared to do that. And he bowed out. But it was like, if you can just fillet this fish and cut it up nice.
What did they say? They keep him or let him go? Because I think that's a smart person to say, I'm not going to throw.
They let him stage still, but they didn't offer him a job. That was the test.
That was the
test.
I think my test is I got sent on a catering thing. I'll never forget it. And it was super high-end people with some guy that was supposed to be my boss. And he didn't know how to cook the squash. He's like, we're just gonna saute it. I go, I'm pretty sure you have to blanch this first before you add it to the risotto. And so I had to kick him out and cooked for, I won't even say who these people were. And I literally called him. I said, what are you doing? Sending me to this something he's like, oh, I figured you were old enough and that you could handle yourself. Do you want the job?
You made it.
I was like, no, I work for you for free because I'm not getting paid to be treated like this. I'll leave
right.
and so I stayed and worked for him for a long time, but I never wanted to get paid because don't ever do that to me again. Just send me to these people who decide lives.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
I'm like, cool. Do you want the music off?
Yeah, probably.
I know how to do it.
Yeah?
From here.
Cool.
I'm trained.
Trained in the whiz?
It's awesome. Very entertaining.
Perfect. What else do you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up?
Sure. How many women work in your kitchen?
How many women work in my kitchen? Okay, I have Izzy, who is my head pastry chef.
Pastry.
And also, she runs the restaurant for me when I'm not there. So she preps. She knows how to prep. It's pretty great. She knows how to prep. She can work the grill. She can work every position in the kitchen. And she can work the front of the house.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to lean on her a little bit more coming into this busy season because she's.
Does she like that? Or would she prefer to be in the kitchen?
Okay, so she went to school to be a pastry chef. Mm-hmm. And then did her internship with us. And she and my wife, Heidi, are actually going to open up our new place, our sister restaurant, Gabby Lou's. And we're looking to open up in August.
In Harmony?
In Harmony. Yeah, and so that'll be kind of a breakfast joint, pies, cinnamon rolls, donuts, pastry shop, coffee shop kind of concept. And so I'm leaning more towards having Izzy, until that happens, focus on pastries for Estelle's, and then run the front of the house, especially with busy Friday, Saturday services.
Yep.
Parker, she is my line cook, and I have a night crew and a day crew.
Yep.
So Parker and Maddox she's 17 and he's 15. And they both started. Okay, so here's the cool thing. They all started as dishwashers. Izzy,
Well, you got to start as a dishwasher.
Absolutely.
That is the rule.
And they've come up through the ranks.
Yeah, you can't.
So Izzy, Shelby, Parker, they're all started as dishwashers. So Parker, she works the grill, and Maddox, he is 15. He works the fry station, and then I'll come up and help Expo if it's crazy busy. So in the kitchen, there is 2 girls, and then Maddox and Trent are my two dudes that work in there.
That's good.
I mean, so yeah.
That's nice.
And
that's a dream come true.
It's working, and that's the thing where I've tried to open up dialogue. I've tried to get everybody to be more involved in decisions. Like, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what we're trying to do here. Here's where we're changing we changed our whole style of service to fast casual last year after COVID.
Did you?
Yep.
How do you like it?
For the tourism time of year, when it's turn and burn, it's much more fluid. Absolutely. I like that. It takes a little bit away, and this is on me, of just establishing a better system of checking on tables for, if you want another drink, if you want dessert, how's everything tasting, so that there still is that table side effect, and you're still taken care of, which is something that we're focusing on this year, and we got a few ideas for that. But as far as the overall, going forward, it's working really great.
I think a lot of people are saying that.
It's one of those things that we did, and I wish we would have done earlier.
I think it's COVID though, right?
Absolutely.
I think it was, you wanted quality service, you still need quantity. How do you do that? And then pay your really good people better and 100%. Not pay like a bunch of people average, so you get the good. Really, it's a blend.
Absolutely.
I saw that coming a long time ago.
Yep.
I think that's just the way the world's
that's where it's going.
It's where it's going. Because it's not an art to be a server as much as it used to be 20 years ago. It used to be a thing.
It used to be you could have that be your only profession. If you were really good at it at a high-end restaurant, that could pay all your bills and you could feed your family.
And you could have a life.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And it's not that anymore.
No.
It's just, that's the reality. And it sucks. Like, I lost a couple servers when we changed, and I get it. There was some emotions, and there were some things like, you're taking this from me. I'm like, I'm trying to navigate through this terrain of unknown.
Yeah.
Best for my business.
I think in Minnesota we're going to see that happen so fast, whereas you go to Wisconsin, it's still where you can manage to do what we used to do 20 years ago. You can't, whole different pay setup and payroll and
absolutely
stuff.
Iowa too. Iowa's the same way.
So Minnesota's just going to have to get used to that.
That's kind of, and what happened with me is my buddy, he moved back from California, and he was out in San Diego for 6 years. And
Juniper?
Yeah, my buddy Tyler.
Tyler, yeah. My mom's friends with his mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used to ride horse together.
Right on.
Everybody knows everybody in this area.
Yeah,
if you haven't figured that out.
That's awesome. I connect the dots every day. Yeah. That's all I do. So when he got back, we had these conversations of, this is how they're doing this is how they're doing that. Yep. And it's like almost every restaurant, if it's not a high-end restaurant in California, this is the...
It's the reality of like how to make the business work.
Yes, and it's taken a year to, because you're not only training your employees, you're training your customers,
and you're training yourself.
Yes,
because it's a weird flip.
Yes,
it's a weird. I watch it and I always think like, I don't know if I would like this anymore.
It's got its pros and cons. And the pros, I think, outweigh it. And here's what I say to people. I go, you are more in charge of your dining experience now. If you want another drink, here's how I pitch it. I'll go, if it's busy in here and you walked in, if it's the old style, you'd have to wait, say, 15 minutes.
To get somebody's attention.
And then you finally get sat down, right? And then the server will come over, do the spiel, here's the specials, get your drink orders. And then your drinks would come back maybe 10 minutes later. And then you put your order in, and then that'd be maybe 20, if it's busy, it could be a half hour, it could be 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then so... doing this fast casual, right when you put your order in, the fries are in the fryer, the burger's on the griddle, that's working.
Sometimes the food comes out faster than the drinks now.
Sometimes it does.
So bizarre.
Yes.
So bizarre.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we've talked about. Hey, maybe slow down a little bit. But it's much more efficient. And how I tell people, like, especially putting on this giant patio that we did.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's the only way that we could facilitate adding 90 more seats to our restaurant with our kitchen.
Because you can't add that much more staff.
Exactly.
Do the numbers.
And so that's what I tell people too. I go, it would take, we can run the whole patio with 3 people out there. And if it was the old system, it would take 6.
Yes.
So
now you can pay those 3 people a little bit more than what you could have, and you can pay your kitchen staff more because payroll is a real deal.
Yes.
People never understand that. They're like, I don't get it. I was like, oh, do you want to see me do payroll right now? Like,
it's the biggest expense.
Sometimes, like, you just find yourself holding your breath when you're doing it, like, oh my God.
I'll walk out of my office and I'll just hold the wall. I'll be like, no, like look at me and like payroll, like, yeah,
They knew when I used to do it in my old place, I'd be like, can I just get a glass of wine? And nobody come up for an hour.
Just leave me alone. Let me have this time and get through this. I can't breathe.
And they'd be like, well, why are you scheduling this way? Because I see what you make for tips and this person sells, and so you have to work more.
Yeah.
To pay for it. So it's a real thing.
That's a cool thing too about this new style is that I haven't had one table war. I haven't had one complaint about tips. I mean, just the less strife of that has been
table wars.
Has been, I'm like, dude, just figure it out. You're adults, like unbelievable. Like it's like herding cats. It's like dealing with children. It's like so. Like, I know it matters. I know it's a thing, but it doesn't matter right now. Do your damn job. Leave me alone. Let me cook. And I not once in the last year has that happened.
That's nice.
And
there's a bonus. That should be a selling point to every restaurant.
And I don't. Exactly. That's why I'm telling people, like, it's great. And I have nothing to do with the tips. Legally, I can't.
I know.
Which is great as well. They have basically their own union. And they decide how
it gets done, and they tell you, and it's great. It's a lovely thing, isn't it?
It's so much better. And that's something that came out of COVID. Like this new system, like, oh my God. Again, I wish we would have done this 5 years ago.
So COVID I don't think it was all bad.
No.
I mean, we weren't even supposed to expand our brewery until 2023. And we have to do it this year.
You had to expedite it.
We had to do it. My husband's little wine shop was not supposed to, it was just supposed to be like, here's something that we really like and we think Rochester needs and we see a need for it. But, great. It's an extra bonus thing that makes people happy. And now we're like, oh, we have to expand that too. So it's been, I think in a way, COVID was like, let the really good things that people found value and things that weren't
serving up
or done well and serving us too, or serving you. Like you had time to think, you had time to finish patio.
Yes.
You had time to come up with a podcast.
Yes.
You had time to probably figure out your new restaurant, which there wasn't before. And I think people give you more, maybe not now, but there is a little bit more grace.
There's more of an understanding.
Of like people like saying like, yeah, like restaurant people have to have a life. Like Thai Pop doesn't need to be open on a Sunday. Good for them. We don't open a liquor store on a Sunday. Great.
Yep.
Like
I just had this conversation with my buddy Tyler, and he's opening up Junipers.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I met him when he was opening. I was like, oh God. I just remember that look on his face. And he's like, whoa.
But these are the things you're just like, dude, like he's like, I get phone calls daily from other businesses of like, what do you mean you're not going to be open on Sunday? I have these people coming in. What do you mean you're not going to be open for lunch? It's like, well, they were before at this building. And when it's like, dude, my biggest thing is what I tell people. I go, I have to want to be here. If I don't want to be here,
it's not going to be good.
None of this works. None of it works. And I know that's my responsibility. And like, I'm trying to build something here and I'm part of it. But if I show up here and I don't want to be in this space, it's not going to work. You're not going to have a restaurant.
I think when people figure out your value And I think once you learn how to value yourself and your business, and you say, this is what I stick to, it's a learning curve, but then people just get it.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
this is their time that they're open, or this is what they're going to do. I think that's the hardest thing to learn in a restaurant, especially because people always want what they want when they want it.
But it goes back to what we're talking about. Like the sooner you put that down, that boundary, or that, like, this is what it is, the sooner people do get it.
And I think if you can talk to people, I always found that if you're able to talk to people and say, like, they're like, well, why aren't you? And I said, well, here are the economics. Did you think about this? And they're like, no, I didn't. And I was like, well, here's the economics of staffing. Now here's the economics of getting food, or getting grain, or getting something shipped, or getting glassware, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like, simple things.
To-go containers.
To-go ramekins. I mean, what is going on in the world?
Yeah.
Like, napkins.
Yep. Straws.
It's crazy.
It's wild. It's
wild. So
wild.
I think you just have to say, like, there's only so much a human being can take. And I think everybody else got a break. We were essential. But even we got to slow down, and now they know, like, what essential means. And all of us got to have a little bit of a stressful time of life, but also a better quality where you could go home and see your family.
Dude, right?
At the end of the night. And not till 10 o'clock. Like, now when I work till 10 or 11, I'm like, ooh, I used to do that all the time. And I was like, my poor husband sweet husband, but good, just amazing human, would wait and make dinner for me and ask me when I'm coming home, text me you're coming home. We would eat at 10 or 11 o'clock at night so we could eat together.
Right.
I mean, that was normal. And we're not Spain, for God's sakes.
Yes. We're not.
It's not Spain or Brazil. I'm like, the man has cooked me dinner at midnight before.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We don't, now when we do it, if we ever do it, it's just because remember when we had to do this all the time?
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, it's just, I was like, would you want to do this every night? He's like, no, I wouldn't.
That used to be the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's not. And I say, if you're going to survive and be really good, then you have to.
Because that's
give
what it comes
yourself-
down to, right? Is the sustainability. Like,
Yep.
if you've chosen, and you have a cool story of, like, switching careers
like many times.
to choose this thing. And my wife is actually doing that right now. She's been a teacher, and she's going to go run this thing. And it's like, if you're choosing this career and you're going to work for yourself, and you're going to serve people, and you're going to have a product, and you're going to be self-sustaining, then that's the key.
And that's not just money.
Exactly.
Like,
and we talked a little bit about this before. It's not about just dough.
No.
You need dough to have tools to get your shit done.
Yep.
But it's not all about,
But like, at some point, the money is inconsequential. I mean, if you're not eating ramen very fortunate that I could make that decision, but just to say, I'm so unhappy that how will this initial restaurant, it will never be anything that I can keep up doing. I'll be a shell.
Right.
And
Yeah.
my husband, who again is an amazing human, was like, we need to figure something else out because this isn't going to last for and end well if we don't figure something
and
else
that's just
out.
the reality.
Yep.
Like, you're looking at that, and I do that within my restaurant of, like, systems or within, like, procedures of, like, yeah, this was a great idea at that time and it served us, and it's not anymore. We got to
Yep.
get rid of that.
Loved it.
You know, and that's a smaller scale, but that's what it is, right?
Yep.
And making those decisions
Is tough.
Is tough.
It's tough and sad, and it was my first baby, and my first
Yeah.
baby
Yeah,
is gone, but it gave me really good other things that I'm really proud of, and I
Yep.
can cook like that for myself and my friends.
100%.
So it's
100%.
fine.
And what I tell people too is that, when you go through stuff like that, you can say you got to do it.
I did.
I have that experience.
Yeah.
I can draw from that. I can use that going forward.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I did, and I'm proud of it. And that's, it was a fun time, cool time, different time in my life, and now I'm here now.
I was so young. Yeah. when I was young.
When I was a
when I was a
chicken.
baby. Like,
Yeah.
who starts a restaurant at 30?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. It's like, I've never
I started mine at 30. I was 34.
I was 30. I was like, I can do fine dining.
Yeah.
I can do a whole wine bars. I was like, I ran restaurants since I've been 15 and in college. He's like, really? I was like, I'll figure it
I'll
out.
figure it out.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
What a good human being that. I have a really good husband, really good man.
Yeah, well, it takes that.
Yeah.
It does.
Your spouse is the key.
She's Yeah, she's my rock, man. I couldn't do any of this without her. It would. I tell people that it wouldn't even be close to what it could be without her. You know.
It's a true story.
I talked about this on my last podcast with Andy Bonnet from Rubiat, and him and his wife.
I love that restaurant.
It's awesome.
I love that restaurant.
And him and his wife, they own and they operate it. They live there, and that was kind of like we have this thing like. I just came clean and was saying that. I'm like, dude, yeah, I had to get out of my own way, my ego and stuff, to be able to have conversations about the business with my wife, who is my business partner, and not bring that shit home as husband and wife. And that was a fucking hard lesson, dude.
It's a horrible lesson.
Yeah.
It was the first. I always tell people, if you have a restaurant, it's like having a baby. It's literally like the first 6 months you're just holding on for dear life. Like, can I eat? Can I sleep? Can I shower? By the time they're 2, you're like, cool, they're potty trained. By 5, the rest of them, they can tie their own shoes, they're going to kindergarten, and you hope to God by the time you're 17 that they're going to pay for your college tuition. Right? But it's like horrible. I will always say, like, I tell people flat out, like, I think we were that close to, and he doesn't work in the restaurant. He would come help me. He has another job, but I think we were that close to being like, what are we going to do? Because can we make it through this? It was really hard. Yeah. After 2, it gets better, but the first 2 years, I think, if anything, are just, what have I done?
Yes.
Did you just not have that moment? You're like,
yes. I don't know how, not only what have I done, but
what have I done to my family?
Yeah.
Yeah, what have I done to my life?
Dude, that was because my brother, Mike, he does travail, and when I was going to come and help him, and then I decided I wanted to do this, he's like, are you sure?
Yep.
Are you fucking sure, Matt? Because this is it. Once you do it,
there's no going back. The red pill or the blue pill. And once you take that pill, like, it's like game on.
Yeah, and like he's like got this serious look in his eye. I'm like, I think so, man. I think I want to, you know.
I've seen like lots of couples either make it through it or they don't. It can, a new business, no matter what it is, either makes that marriage stronger or it breaks that marriage. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's an
arduous road.
Is it me or the restaurant? I don't know. I have to pay these bills.
Yeah. Well, my wife, her grandmother, she grew up in a restaurant in Lanesboro, and that was like her last advice before she passes, like, just don't ever open a restaurant with your husband.
Do you know
come on.
That is like, so this has really happened. So like, I wanted to be a chef my whole life. My parents were like, you're really good at school. Nobody's gone to college. You're going to college. And I was like, why? She's like, you need healthcare and you need to be a pharmacist. And I'm like, okay. So like I went and then I'm working as a nurse and then I meet my husband and he's like, you got to figure out what you want to do with your life, man. Like, this is a long time to work your whole life. And so like, he's like, you need to really take time and reflect and very like introspective. I was like, all right. And it's like, I come back and was like, I want to own a restaurant. He's like, what? His grandpa had owned a restaurant. Both of his parents had owned restaurants. He's like, and they owned a flower industry. I literally thought I would never have to work in a restaurant again. He's like, you have got to be kidding me. I was like, I'm really not.
Oh man, he's like, go back out and think again.
Yeah, he's like, are you sure? I was like, I'm 100% sure. But he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But he says it was probably one of the coolest things we've done too.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
Absolutely.
Good perspective, keep him grounded. You're in no ivory tower, you're a small business owner.
Yeah.
You're in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it makes you, it helps you have more of those real conversations.
And with like real people every day.
Like-minded, going through the same arduous, crazy shit, you know? And that's part of this podcast is that, dude, not only is there great content in that, people want to hear that stuff, but we need to say that shit.
Well, it's hard. I tell everybody, if you can do it, but you got to love it, and you're going to work way harder than if you worked a corporate job.
Yeah.
There's no
ifs, ands, or buts.
The buck stops with you. You're like, oh, it's me. I figure out payroll. Cool.
Oh my God, I'm losing my front of the house manager, Sarah. God, Sarah, I love you. I'm gonna miss you. But she's going back to school. This is her last season with us, and she's like, we're just hanging out talking at the end of Saturday night, and she's like, so when do you want to learn how to do payroll again? And I'm like, damn it! That means you're really leaving, and that means I really have to learn that, which it's fine. I've done it before, but like it's a new system, so we're gonna go through
I
it.
got used to a general manager, and I remember when she's awesome. She was with me for 7 years, and like she was like, I have this opportunity, and she's like, but I feel really bad, and I was like, take this opportunity, because she has her own restaurant now, and I was like, you have to do it.
You have to do it.
And I literally was like, can I do this without her anymore and do everything? I was like, we're done.
Right?
I literally was like, I'm done. Because I was like, it's so nice. So I feel I've gone back and forth. And I was like, I don't want to go back and forth anymore. So you will miss her.
I'm going to miss her now.
A lot.
She's the bomb.
You're still going to have to text her some questions.
Oh, absolutely. I know that.
I still call I don't even own a restaurant. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? She's like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, God, you're really good.
Yeah. That's why I just did that with her yesterday. I'm like, hey, this was an idea. What do you think? I think it'll work. And she had like 4 what ifs. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think about any of that.
Yeah.
But it's like,
so women are good multitaskers when it comes
100%.
to that stuff.
Dude, and perspective of the inquisitive perspective that I've noticed more from women of like, dudes are like more just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And
Yeah.
arduous, not arduous, it's just
You're a straight line.
straight line, you know? And with my female employees, they ask more questions.
You know why that is.
And they're connecting more dots.
You know why that is.
To make sure everything's covered.
Yeah.
So there's
in the
security.
Straight line, they're like, yes, because I'm going to have to fix that and then that and
they're
then
almost
that.
like default. It's like a default setting where it's like, okay, but what about this and what about that and what about this? It's like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
We're really not nagging when we do that. We're really just like being like, oh my God, like no more work.
Right. No, it's trying
I want it to be smooth.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Women-
And that was a lesson I had to learn as far as like, why do you ask so many questions? why don't you just do what I asked?
Did you really say that?
No, but in my head, you know what I mean? I'm like, dude, come on. Especially if I'm having a day where it's like, I'm just trying to get through today, and can you just go do that, please? You know, and then that's a thing that I had to work on, you know, and that's taken time. But now it's like, there's value.
There's value?
There's value, and they're asking these questions for a reason, because they're not only trying to make their little jobs that they're doing easier and more efficient, but it's part of the big picture too for the restaurant.
Again, we're great at running households.
100%.
We run your house party.
Yeah.
We're running your house party.
Yeah. And it's like, that's my job too. And I love that you say it that way, because it is literally that every night.
It is. That's like when a restaurant is like going great, it does feel like the best party in the whole world. And then when you get done, everybody's like, and like, that's like the best part of like, that is probably the most addictive part of a restaurant,
100%.
I think. Like when it does, it's like any sport. Like if you ever played team sports and like, it just went perfectly.
All these parts and all
when
these.
they all go together perfectly. It's like it really is. Talk about random reward.
It's like a magical thing.
It is a magical thing.
You can't say it. And that's the addicting part of it. And that's like what hooked me working at Travail in my brother's restaurant. Dude, there would be nights in there where it was like, you could see the customer, the patrons looking around like, what the fuck is happening? Mm-hmm. This is like, and like it was like people were like floating. It was like we were all with the music and the food and the vibe and the it was like, okay, you don't just get to have this happen. All these things have to come together to create this. Yep. And it's not going to be every night, but once in a while, it's like perfect.
So I think my husband always put it best, because you know, I remember having the 6 months of just amazing. And I was like, this is amazing. He goes, this is what happens in the NFL. And this is how you build a Super Bowl team.
100%, dude.
And nobody wins the Super Bowl every year. So right now, you're winning the Super Bowl, but you're going to have to rebuild. And I was like, man, just like pop my bubble. But he was 100% right.
My mentor, James, that runs the restaurant at Travail with my brother, said that to me. This is not going to last. This is a wave, and the wave is going to crash. enjoy this man. And I was like, why you guys say that? Dude,
it's true.
But he's like, I'm just being,
but then you really
telling
do
you like
see,
it
like,
is.
it's so, but then I was like, oh, so I could always look at this as like a team. Like, I'm always building a team, and every year's a season, and this season is, what are we going to do? So I always think even fights in our house, we've learned that fights aren't even fights anymore. It's just a scrimmage. We're on the exact same team.
Yeah, you're working it out.
And we're working it out. So people will watch us and they're like, oh my God. And then like 10 minutes later, we're totally fine. They're like, what just happened? We're like, it was literally a scrimmage. And that's how.
It was an exercise.
And that's the beauty of working with Ann, my business partner, is she's got the same mentality, because our husbands are like, well, what are you going to do if you guys don't get along? Like, we're just going to fight.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? We're like, yeah, we're going to fight. We're going to get all of it out. And then we're going to come back and figure out to do what's best for the team, not for either one of us. So it's been kind of the beauty. All my teams have always been women. Maybe just because that's how women just get over it and then go like, we got to get this stuff done.
Dude, there's so much value in that.
Yeah.
And that's me realizing that, going like, dude, like laying my ego down and just being open to having those conversations and getting out of my own way.
It's just a scrimmage. If you just say like, I'm on this team and these people are all really talented and
Dude,
they can't do everything, it works out. I mean, everybody's good at something.
100%.
And I can't be good at everything.
All the time.
Nor do I want to be.
No, it's
Some days I
exhausting.
just want to be lazy.
Some days I just want to, delegate.
Some days I don't even want to do that. I just want to be like, I'm done. Oh, today is Sunday. Do I really have to do anything?
Dude, going back, it's funny you said about the restaurant being like your baby, and then it's a 2-year-old, and then
It's true.
how it grows. Like, I literally have said this so many times, because we opened Estelle's on June 3rd, 2015, and my daughter Estelle was born June 10th. So both
You're nuts.
Both Estelles are the same age, and so I would tell people like, my daughter, my real Estelle, she's she's crawling, and then now she's crawling, and now she can, it's like that's.
As it gets older, you'll see. I think it's super true though. Like it literally, because how old you're 10? How old are you now? How old is Estelle's?
Estelle's will be 7 in July.
Cool.
They'll both be 7.
So you've got like a second grader.
She'll be in first grade.
First grade.
A first grader.
I was early.
Yep.
Kid, so.
She's late.
Late. So you have a first grader.
And we held her back because of COVID. We had a choice, but to give her another year.
So just think about that, and like that's such a like when somebody was like, it's like a baby, and I was like, oh God, it's
and I would tell people like, look at my restaurant's talking in full sentences. I can leave my restaurant now for.
Wait till it does algebra by itself.
I can't wait, dude.
Means you won't do payroll.
I know, right? Well, I haven't been. I'm gonna have to do. It's just until I get somebody else. But that's funny you said that, because that's one of my analogies that I tell people. Like, this is what it's like.
People like don't believe you.
Yeah. It's
bonkers.
It's like its own entity.
It is.
That's growing and learning and expanding and able to do more, And I tell people that too.
Like a family, like a brand new family. As your kids get better, like your household isn't in chaos all the time anymore.
I said, as we're able to handle more, more has come along. And I think that is a sign of taking the right steps, of going in the right direction.
Yes.
Because if we were this busy when we first opened, we would have folded. It would have been a joke. We would have not even been close to making it or being able to handle it. And so as we are going forward and being able to handle more's coming along.
The universe does pay attention.
100%.
Like
that's how it works.
As you get older, you figure out like, I really can't force that, and maybe if I just step here and just wait.
Yeah.
Not a virtue of mine is patience.
Mine either.
Clearly,
I want it now.
as I'm emailing you, hey, what do you think about this beer? You're probably like, lady, it's COVID. Leave me alone.
I get it, dude. I get it, because I'm the
Can't
same
hurt
way.
unless you ask, right?
100%. And that, dude, going back to what I was telling you about, you're doing your job, your due diligence. It's not being pushy. It's being
slightly pushy.
Yeah, but it's being
slightly pushy.
But it's being available. Like that's as being a salesman, that's the biggest.
Yeah, I do not answer 3 a.m. texts though.
Well, sure.
So just know that I'm not going to be like, great idea. I'll be there at 5 a.m.
I'm not even talking about like being available with that. I'm talking about being available for for business. Like,
Yeah.
when the opportunity comes up, I'm like, I need to do this or this or this. I want to change this. What do we got? Like, oh, here.
Well,
Yeah.
harmony is a happen in little town. Like, it's fun to watch because I grew up in Stewartville, so not far away. So it's always fun to kind of watch all those areas kind of come into their like coolness.
Yeah,
which I always thought, and I still think, and I know that southeastern Minnesota is cool, but working in the Minneapolis way back, probably you were in high school maybe or whatever.
I just turned 40, so.
Are you really?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not that much older.
All right.
But I remember them being like, you're from southern Minnesota. There's nothing cool there. And I was like, you're getting all the food from the farmers down here that I know. Like, so I feel like that's pretty cool, guys. Like, just because we're not
Yeah, dude.
Minneapolis doesn't mean, I think we're just a little bit more close to the real thing.
Oh, dude. Like, all the chefs and cooks and people that I know that I told them I was moving down here to do this thing, and they're like, that's awesome. That's literally the dream.
Oh, really? You know what I was told when I did mine? I called, I won't even tell you what magazine I called, and I said, hey, new restaurant, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, Rochester? It's like a culinary wasteland. What's the point of us even coming down? And that's a legit quote. And I was like,
Thanks for the support.
okay, thanks. And then 3 years later, we have a James Beard Award nominated chef. So I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah.
Was that Santos?
Sante.
Sante?
Yep.
I ate there. I ate here.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like
It was
when I
fun.
first started dating Heidi,
It was fun.
and we came here, and it was awesome.
Thanks.
It was like my first. I was just getting into food too.
Oh, good. That was a good place to come.
I was just new at Travail. Like, I just kind of had a little bit of the concept of.
Small plates, tapas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed
time.
it.
Thank you.
That was the first time I ever had a actual cheese course.
Really?
Yeah. And the chick's like, the server, she's like, you didn't eat the rind. That's the best part. And I was like, am I supposed to? She's like, well, there's a lot of flavor in there, so you should at least try it. And I'm like,
Oh, they did such a good job because I always would tell people, like,
and
you
I'm
gotta
like-
just tell people to do
I'm
a
like,
little bit
okay,
more.
I'll try it. I don't know. That was my experience.
That makes me happy because it was an incredible group of people. That was like when restaurants were like a thing,
Yes.
and that was a big deal.
No, it's a beautiful space too.
It was lovely.
It was
lovely.
It was beautiful. It was a cool experience. We had a good time.
Well, I'm glad. That makes me happy. It was a fun thing to do.
Right on.
Now we have a really pretty little restaurant here, and she's doing amazing work.
Annie, Thai Pop.
My dream was always to have a female head chef that I would get to work with.
I've heard nothing but, I haven't got to eat yet, but I've heard nothing but
It's like legit
bomb.com. Yeah.
spicy. Not Minnesota spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just black pepper spicy.
No, it's really good. It's everything from scratch, and there's a lot of. I mean, it's cool to see because I am older than you, and I've been doing this for 16 years officially, and it's just neat to watch like a kitchen filled with women, other cultures, because I get to walk through because they're my tenant, and it's fascinating to watch something like that because I always thought, like, I wonder what that would look like, and it's just a totally different vibe than anything. I did fine dining, French style, and
Brigade.
I did. I worked at Vincent's, and
that's gone now.
it's gone.
That's not even a thing
It's
anymore.
not even a thing anymore.
I had I'm not gonna say disdain for that, but that turned me off so much when they would tell me these stories and stuff. I'm like, I couldn't do that, man. I don't think I would be able to do that. Like, I got in where I got in with my brother because it was his restaurant, and there was like a kind of macho brigade style, but it was so much more about being creative and being, able to handle more and push yourself than militant, do this, do that.
He
you
wasn't.
suck.
I will say he was never a militant. He was a great guy. He was a great mentor. Maybe he was kinder to me because it was a second career, and like he knew I wasn't some young dumb kid. I mean, I was 27 or 8 when I was working for him, and I was still a nurse. And he's like, "You're leaving that to do this?" And I was like, "Well, this is my dream." But like he was great because I always wanted to learn like, how do you do all of the system? So for me, it was a system thing, the creativity thing.
That comes from doing this.
For the system, like
work.
once you can do the fundamentals, then you can go and screw off as much as you want because you won't harm yourself doing it.
That's what I tell people too. I'm like, hey man, this is a craft. This is a craft. That means you have to do it like 500 times, then maybe 1,000 times.
10,000 hours.
And then from that comes the art.
Yep.
You know, out of that'll come something that, oh, wow. You know, that's, I guess I can do that now.
That's like when you talk to like, it's just a difference with working. It's really fun to work with Ann. It's really interesting to work with Ann because we both have the science background. And so she's done all the work and all the science. And then you just watch her create something and she makes it look so easy and like it's seamless and she doesn't really make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was like,
she just does it.
She just does it. And it's
Yeah.
like so second nature to her. And it's just, it looks easy. And
it turns you on too when you see somebody doing that in their own element.
Yeah.
And like, it's like with music too, or with acting, or it's like, wow.
like you watch her in the brewery, like because I've never got to work with somebody that was a master brewer. So you watch her and she just makes it look, and she acts like it's nothing. It'd be like watching you cook and you'd be like, whatever. And I'm like, literally in there, I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. She's like, this is nothing. And I'm like,
right?
Oh my God.
Dude. And
Like, this is so neat. Like you have no idea like how cool this is, but she just can, whatever.
I would watch James Winberg at Travail expo 2 turns at the same time, 15 courses with all the vegetarian, pescatarian, gluten-free options, as well as serve amuse-bouche himself in between courses. And I'm over here working the salad station. And I'm looking at it, and he's got this chart.
Giant list.
And it's like watching a maestro.
It is.
Work. And
You should follow an expo like that sometime, and then for funsies, you just auction off somebody trying to keep up with them for like a shift.
Yeah.
They just quit.
You're gonna die. You're not gonna even come close. Your brain would melt if you're not. And I would watch other people try and do it. I'm like, James, you got to expo, man. If we're gonna do all this crazy shit, you got to be the one that's running the show, because it's so much. Like your scope has to be, and what you can handle and hold has to be so much.
Yeah.
And remain calm and efficient and keep the machine moving.
Yeah.
That was when I would watch him, like, how is he?
Isn't it cool?
How is he doing this?
It's amazing.
Yeah. And I was like,
loved expo.
I want to just get to a little bit of that. That's what I was like. I want to just dabble in that, you know, and
really
try.
good expos. I remember watching them expo at French Laundry because I was going to stage there, and I just remember how silent the kitchen was, and it was just like this, and like you were like a voice like this would move mountains, and I'm like, what is going on in this kitchen right now?
You staged at the French Laundry?
I was going to.
What happened?
I dropped out of culinary school before I could do it because I thought the school was bad, and I reported them to the Better Business Bureau.
Really?
I did. That
What
was
school?
Le Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, well, they're not around anymore.
They're not around anymore. And they're like, well, I was going to do it. I have family out there. And then they're like, I had to pay them to go work for 3 months at the French Laundry. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, they're working me for free, and I'm paying the school, and they didn't honor my credits. I'm like, I've got a BSN. Like, I don't need to take your classes.
Really? Mm-hmm. That was the program they had set up?
That was for staging. I was going to make it through the 15 months, and then I just said, forget it. I will go work for Vincent, because he was a teacher in France. I'll just go work for him. That makes more sense. I can drive up, and then I went to SOM school. Yeah. Instead of going there. Yeah, I went out.
No shit.
Yeah. But you should see where they put the stage. That was the other thing where you started. I met the girl that was doing it, and she was in the vegetable room. And it was like the most depressing thing I've ever seen. It was like this little tiny room with a window. And it was like really pretty, but she was in there like peeling carrots perfectly. And I'm like, this is shit. Like, this isn't going to serve me well in Rochester, Minnesota.
Right.
So I became practical.
Yeah. Well, you have
to. It would have been great. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to stage at the French Laundry, but then
That's a cool thing to put on the resi. But still, yeah, that's the right decision for sure. I didn't know that, man.
Yeah.
Le Cordon Bleu. That's why my brother went there, and he says kind of the same shit. It was just.
Oh, I got in a fight with them.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was like, this program is a ripoff. I had it all laid out. I had all my documents, and I'm like, I want out, and I don't want to pay anymore. Because it's paying month by month. And they're like, what? And I was like, do this now and let me out and give me my credits, or I'm reporting you to the Better Business Bureau. And I think they were out of business in under a year after that.
Yeah. I think my first year at Estelle's, we went up and did a thing at the State Fair. And I think that was their last year. They had like some Le Cordon Bleu kids.
God, my chefs were really great, but they were all burnt out. I felt bad. Like all of them were like on hypertension medicine, and like they bring in the like medication list for me. They're like, "You're a nurse," and I was like, well, maybe not so much salt in the food.
How are my levels?
Yeah, somebody chopped off their finger. They came and got me. I'm like, really? Like, this is ridiculous. But it was kind of funny.
It is funny.
It's funny. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Somebody threw the finger away in the garbage. I was like, no, you got to
keep that. Put on ice.
Yeah. I was like, go get it out. Go get it out. They're like, what? I was like, this is insane. The chef's fainting. I'm like, oh, this is the worst. But it was kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, so no fancy restaurant for me. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Now I just get to make really great beer. I get to sell great beer. I don't make it. They don't want me brewing. Don't want me to brew.
But it's your new baby. You know, your new business.
Good product. I want good product from locally. That was my dream.
Yeah.
Always. I want people to buy everything local. We have great farms and farmers, and all the good stuff that's down here.
Dude.
I just think we should do it.
Yep. Especially, I mean, that's like why we do that is it's a better product. And again, going back to saying, like, I'm not going to put something in it just because it's local, but if it's local and it's done right, it's better.
Yeah.
You know, like we work with an Amish family. We get all our produce spring, summer, and fall from them. And like the first year I was like, holy shit, that's what cauliflower is supposed to taste like. That's
crazy, right?
Yeah, that's real produce.
Some people are like, why is your food so good? You're like, well, one, I'm a really good chef, but two, I'm getting great food. Real chicken.
My building blocks are solid, you know.
Your fundamentals.
Yep, absolutely. And, I can dress it up, but basically, like, especially I get all our beef from my father-in-law. He's got 60 head of Black Angus right outside of a mile outside of the restaurant. And my job is just to not mess it up. Like, dude, this is good. Like, I'll bring it to the butcher, and he's like, this is good. This is quality.
Wow.
And, like, yeah, it's a great burger. It's great. Like, you put that pot roast on top of beef stroganoff, it's like, dude, yeah, I just season it.
You're like, no, I'm a food genius.
No.
I'm a genius.
It's this simple, though. That's what I tell people. Like,
simple.
It's like good in, good out.
Exactly.
And
why does our beer taste so good? Because it's with local water. It's made right here. You know that it's like legitimately. It's not saying it's made in Hawaii.
Right.
Let's say what beer that is. I was like,
is that Kona? Ah!
I'm like, what is going on? Like,
where is it made?
It's now made in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm like, think about that. It's made either in Hawaii or California, and then it's shipped all the way over here.
Right.
How old is it? So it's kind of like, we have friends in France, and it's like, why is it so good? Literally, because I just got the cheese from the guy that had the sheep, the da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
like,
it's real.
You can't change that up.
Right.
Why is Guinness so much better in Ireland than when it is in the U.S.? Well, it went on a container, came over, same diff.
It's realistic. It really is. It's the real.
Sexy southeastern Minnesota.
Yeah. Who knew?
I did.
You did.
I did.
I didn't know. I honestly, like, when we went down to, like, we were going to have a kid. We were pregnant. We're going to have a baby. We're like, let's move. I wanted to move to Harmony to raise our family. And we went down there, and I was just looking for a job. Like, hey, does anybody need a cook? And this building was available. And we're like, I think we can try it out. Let's make a go at it. And then that's where all this came from, of like, oh, wow, I can get fresh eggs here. I can get fresh produce here. I can get my beef from here. I can get, pork from here.
Yeah.
And okay, I get this now. Like, this is
it's lost. And
because when you are setting yourself up for business, you are, it is a competition. And I always say, like, it's not a competition, it's better for it, but you are trying to separate yourself to make yourself a better, people want your product more, right?
But all those people who are around you, who help you, who are like, I sell my eggs there, I sell my pork there. Like, that's the weird, cool thing about this area is that literally everybody knows everybody knows everybody. And like, it's so connected here. Like, I'll be like, going to be like, you're Donna's daughter. Who are you? I went to high school with your mom.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are, but okay.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you're Kurt's.
That's every day for me.
You're Kurt's kid, so for sure I'll give you a chance. And I was like, God, thanks, Dad, for not being a jerk.
Right?
But it's the same like when they say like, wow, you're getting local honey, or you're getting local hops, or you're getting local beef, or you're getting like, that feeds this economy where we say like, it is cool and it is sexy, whereas up in other places, it'd be like, well, what's down there? As our governor once said, it's just rocks and cows.
He did? The one we got now?
Yeah.
Oh, Timmy, come on, bro.
Bunch of rocks and cows.
Oh, come on, bro.
And I was like, well, we make great beef, man.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We got quality.
We got great water down here.
We do.
We do.
That's awesome, man. Well, I just want to say thanks for sitting down with me and hanging out.
Of course.
I had a really great time. This
always helps.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Is this your first drinking episode?
I did one with the Harmony Spirits boys. We were tasting all their whiskey.
Got it.
But thank you so much. I look forward to hopefully sitting down again and hanging out.
Yeah.
To this restaurant life, so much more to this restaurant life. Let's go.